Hello everyone, my name is Liwei Wang and I'm from the Department of Artificial Intelligence and Informatics, Mayo Clinic. So the topic I am focusing on today is development of a general purpose cognitive behavioral symptom taxonomy. So a little background of this project. So the aim, why we want to develop a general purpose cognitive behavioral symptom taxonomy. So that's all originated from our R1 grant, where we want to early detect aging patients who have some signs of AD or Alzheimer or dementia. So we want to use the clinical notes, EHR, to do such kind of prediction. But when we search any related work, we found it's hard for us to use an existing taxonomy or ontology to just collect any related symptoms. So from this point, we consider maybe we should develop such a general purpose taxonomy for this project. So we know that human brain is much more complex than any computing machines ever existed. So it's also a host of the software where we call humanity. When something went wrong with the software or the hardware of the brain, it will manifest it as observable changes that will deviate from normal cognition or behavior, referred as cognitive behavioral symptoms in this study. So symptoms are subjective indications of disease and include phenomena such as disturbed sleep, depressed mood, anxiety. These symptoms are complex and multiple dimensional, so it poses a challenge for research. It's also challenging to manage such kind of symptoms. It also burdens both the patient and the healthcare system so much so that the National Institute of Nursing Research defined the symptom science as one of the key themes with the objective of providing a better understanding of the symptoms of chronic illness and improving quality of life across diverse populations. So the cognitive and behavioral symptoms could be the initial signs of possible underlying dysfunctions. It could be the initial manifestation of many underlying other diseases. Therefore, identifying and measuring such kind of symptoms are critical steps in the biomedical research of the brain. There have been a lot of activities in creating such kind of concept models, including ontologies to aggregate knowledge accumulated over years. However, existing cognitive behavioral symptoms related conceptual models centered primarily by the individual brain diseases and very limited in terms of unifying around the symptoms. The advantage of symptom-centered semantic layer, independent of any etiology, will facilitate representing and extracting CBSX due to a wide array of causes. For example, dedicated semantic tooling to represent and extract cognitive and behavioral symptoms could enable a lot of downstream applications, such as differential diagnosis in the clinical practice and predictive association analytics in the targeted disease area of interest. So this disease could be caused by a lot of reasons, such as genetics, aging, injury, substance use, or infection. So here we thought cognitive behavioral symptoms semantic backbone can also be naturally furnished with lexical variants in the future to serve applications such as natural language processing. So we want to develop such kind of a taxonomy. We first need to define the scope of this taxonomy without considering the underlying etiology. We initially defined cognitive and behavioral symptoms as any observable abnormality or reduced capacity in certain cognitive or behavioral functionality. In addition to cognitive or behavioral symptoms, we also decided to collect various concepts regarding the impact of cognitive behavioral symptoms on life quality, manifested such as compromised daily activities. And also we included psychomotor symptoms. This is another class of concepts which are impaired movements due to the nerve impairment. So this figure shows our overall development process of the taxonomy. We started from searching PubMed Scholar, Google Scholar, to collect a set of CIS articles which have the brain disease or related disease with associated cognitive and behavior symptoms. So we started from this base taxonomy. This base taxonomy contains concepts which can be loosely categorized into the cognitive symptoms or behavioral symptoms. And then we started from 4 general biomedical ontologies, because these ontologies are well known to contain concepts of the cognitive concepts or behavioral concepts. For example, the sub-concept subtree under the mesh. Mesh is one of the ontologies we use. The concept is neurobehavioral manifestation. Under this concept, there's one entry being exactly as the cognitive symptoms. So we started from these ontologies. 2 authors iteratively reviewed each ontology and incrementally increased the concepts, merged the concepts, and reorganized the structure of the taxonomy. When any disagreement appeared, the author will meet together to discuss to get consensus. After that, we also reviewed and integrated some topic-specific ontologies, which is focusing on the brain disease, such as AD ontology. To further enrich the current taxonomy, we also reviewed clinical instruments. For example, one of the instruments is clinical dementia rating survey. They have questions like rate the patient's ability to cope with small sum of money. For example, how the patient live tip, how they manage the workout money things. So these kind of concepts are all about assessing the instrumental function. We review this concept and merged into the taxonomy. After that, we normalize these concepts to UMLS, Unified Medical Language System. QUI is the concept unique IDs. So to normalize the concept to specific code. We also align this code to different ontologies we used so that they are cross-referenced, they are linked together. We then ask one of the authors, who is a physician specialized in aging and neurodegenerative diseases, to audit this taxonomy. After that, we implement the taxonomy into all formats and release it publicly available. This table shows some ontologies, the ontologies we use to incorporate into the taxonomy. For the biomedical ontology, 4 main ontologies include human phenotype ontology, HPO, SNOMED CT US version, medical subject headings, MASH, and also International Classification of Functioning Disability and Health, ICF. So these different ontologies, they contribute to different areas of the taxonomy. For example, cognitive, psychomotor, behavioral. And we also include the topic-specific ontology. These are activity of daily living ontology, Alzheimer's disease ontology, multilingual Alzheimer's disease ontology, onto AD. So this table shows the clinical instruments with contents incorporated into the taxonomy. Clinical dementia rating, functional activities questionnaire, short test of mental status. So they also contribute to different aspects of the taxonomy. We'll give some examples for the clinical instrument. This is the clinical dementia rating. Physicians use this instrument to investigate patients, what kind of symptoms they have. The example question here for the memory question, we can see they ask, does the patient have a problem with her or his memory or thinking? Can the patient recall recent event? Can the patient remember a short list of items? So these questions actually tested patients' ability to, if they have long-term memory issue or short-term memory issue. So these are very key concepts in the taxonomy we included. This is the other part of the clinical dementia rating. For the occupational question, we can see, is the patient still working? If not applicable, or you can proceed to other question. Did memory or thinking problems contribute to the patient's decision to retire? Does the patient have significant difficulty in his or her job because of problems with memory or thinking? These are all the questions related to the capability, if the patient can do work, if they have the work capacity. And then the questions related to social life, such as, did the patient ever drive a car? Does the patient drive a car now? If no, is this because of memory or thinking problem? So these are actually the impact on life. These are also very important part of our taxonomy. So we also give an example of this functional status questionnaire. This questionnaire focuses on the 10 areas of daily activities for patients when the patients came into the hospital. So they are asked to do the survey. This is an example of the short test of mental status. This questionnaire focus on orientation, attention, learning, calculation, abstraction, etc. So the result taxonomy contains 258 concepts that are grouped under the four major branches. The first is cognitive symptoms. This group actually is focusing on patients' ability, the task completing function or ability. Behavioral symptoms actually more focusing on patients' character or mood, if they are depressed, what's their behavior. Psychomotor symptoms, their ability to move, their body's ability to move. The last one is impact on life. So each concept is provided with core synonyms and cross-references in addition to their definition. The cross-references are just mentioned to these ontologies. This resource is publicly available at the GitHub webpage. So this table shows the summary of the structure and the content of the taxonomy. The first level included the four groups. The second level we listed here. For example, for cognitive symptoms, the second level includes reduced consciousness or focus, and then memory issue, perceptual disturbance, language issue, impaired thinking or reasoning. And we give some example concepts under the second level. We can see, for example, for the reduced consciousness, the sample concept include inattention, lethargy, decreased vigilance, brain fog. So these are some examples. This figure shows the all format, the computational format of this taxonomy. So for apathy, on the right panel, we can see the definition, synonyms we collected from the main ontologies we reviewed, and the cross-reference to different ontologies, if available. In conclusion, we developed this taxonomy to serve as a dedicated semantic layer. We synthesize the literature, existing ontologies, and clinical instruments. This taxonomy is publicly available, and ongoing work is to continue curating the concepts, updating the concepts. Maybe in the future we'll add more relations between the concepts, and then we'll try to collect more concept variants from clinical notes, try to serve better for the downstream application. Yeah, I think that's all for the acknowledgement. Thanks for all co-authors and the funding. And the questions can be sent to the emails. Thank you. And I'm happy to take questions.
Any questions in the room? I have some questions. So you briefly mentioned that you're working on some future use cases for this, but yes. I'm curious if there's any of those you'd be willing to share just to give some context how you plan on implementing it.
Yeah, so this project will continue to use other data sources, EHR data we use. So we plan to use clinical notes. The first step is trying to annotate a lot of notes, trying to see what's their mention, what's the concept, in the clinical notes, what's the representation. Because different physicians have their own style to recording symptoms. We want to identify specific mentions by physicians that could be different from our current collected synonyms. So after that, we can train NLP systems to recognize such kind of names, and then we will apply the NLP systems to the future prediction models for the downstream application. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
We got one more question.
Oh,
yeah. Maybe you want to escape. It was just a nice question. So you had this outline of how you developed the ontology. You don't have to get it back. There at the bottom of that page of the picture that you had only evaluated it with one physician.
Yes.
Would you consider not also to use other techniques for ontology evaluation to see if it's a good quality ontology? Or would you consider it be only if one physician looks at it, but there are other tools around there basically? Did you consider using those ones, or why specifically only that way of evaluating?
Yeah, so I have to say this is a very preliminary work, and within the time constraints, we ask our physician to validate the work. In the future, we plan to keep updating and keep validating this taxonomy. So yeah, we plan to collect more information for the tool validation and also ask the experts.
Yeah, no, I mean, there are other tools already out there. For instance, there is the ontology pitfall scanner, for instance, or the Occupational diamoli. And there are several tools and mechanisms already around there that would help evaluating the quality.
Yeah, that's very useful information. I will learn more about that and try to apply this to the validation. Thank you.